This episode of Arrays of Living delivers the fifth chapter of the Aladdin Carpets book called The Fuel You Can Use. And just again, for those who might be jumping in mid season, every month, once a month, usually the last week of the month, I delivering a chapter of my Aladdin Carpets book, which you can find on Amazon using the link in the description of the podcast. And I am doing this in lieu of having an official audiobook. So it allows you to be able to get the book in audio format, but also if you wish to support me, just go to Amazon and purchase the book. And please, however you take in the contents of the book, please go on Amazon anyway. Use the link to go and put a review. Really appreciate it. Hardest thing to get sometimes. So thank you very much for that. And with that, we will get going this episode. The fuel you can use. The mind is so powerful in its capacity to create rocket fuel for the journeys we imagine. It can ignite our senses and intent to soar upward and beyond anyone's line of sight. First, it starts with our mind, then intent to make it real, and action to see it through. How exciting is the human capacity for that? In the prior chapter, I introduced the premise of fuel to ignite our carpets and achieve liftoff. Amidst writing that introduction, I considered whether this chapter was even needed. However, I now realize that there's a lot more content to cover than previously thought. When looking at fuel, there are things to be considered, such as types and quality, some being better than others. There are also fuel injection timings to upkeep speed and techniques needed to reach new heights. Once you start to take off, a lot of work is required to get to the desired altitude. Pilots are at their busiest during the liftoff and again when landing. The same holds true for you on your journey to reach greatness in your life. Disaster can occur at either of those points if fuel becomes non existent. That is how critical this area of the journey is. So, what more do we need to know? And go figure that we need to know more. Silly me. First thing is first. Our best carpet fuel is made up of blind faith, passion, our superpower, energy in the form of a luminous light, a strong belief in oneself, in yourself, the continuous inward flow of self love, and reciprocity. I previously mentioned that tainted fuel is something we wish to avoid. It is the result of not pursuing your best life or living up to your full potential. However, the other side to consider, even in that situation, is whether the fuel even has all the correct ingredients to give you the most optimal power. If you are not in an intimate self relationship, then you are unaware of the many things, i.e., ingredient related, that you need to achieve sustainable happiness and feel fulfilled. If you have an insufficient understanding of yourself, then you will have incorrect knowledge. Therefore, some or all of your ingredient qualities may be compromised or missing even, leading to suboptimal flying conditions and potentially tainted fuel. The result is a low flying carpet. It may fly, but how is it really flying? In my consulting career, I was flying, but certainly not as high as my potential. And the same could be true for you. This ingredient list in its entirety creates the highest quality rocket fuel. Anything less reduces our fuel to that of jet fuel or even a lesser type. The impact being that we reach lower altitudes, which is not our ideal. Remember, we are striving for the greatest we can be based on our destined purpose in life. Moreover, it is just as important to know that there are certain things that will taint our fuel and create flight problems that could lead to a crash and burn situation. If you recall, I said that fear will always be there, but action is needed regardless. That action is what will subdue the fear and leave it ever present in the background where it belongs. At no time should we strive to eliminate fear in its entirety. That's an important point. Our aim should rest with managing our fears by facing them head on. Being afraid is normal and rather healthy. Absence of fear, however, is one of those things that taint the fuel. One thing I love about the Aladdin Carpets concept is that it creates great conversations because it truly resonates with people in varied ways. While the book was being developed, I had a conversation about fear. We both agreed that fear is an ingredient needed within the fuel, but then we discussed that in different situations, the amount of fear required may differ. This introduced degrees of fear that is situation dependent. So, my need to cope and compensate for fear may be different from your need to do the same. And irrespective of the personal uplift needed, the outcomes will look the same. The fear gets managed. This aspect is extremely personal, and the same situation for two people could result in two different fear levels. This nuance makes fear a unique ingredient when compared to other ingredients, and how it can be so debilitating for some. Being able to deal with and use greater levels of fear will allow for stronger fuel and will take you places you never thought you could go. We need fear, and the more its presence is felt and managed, the better rewards you reap in your journey, height, speed, and impact. Think about that. And you can repeat this if you need to hear that all again. Now, on the flip side, without it, we become brazen, cocky even, and we lose humility. How many times have we watched prominent people say the wrong thing, act in the wrong way, or do something not expected of them or contradictory to their persona? Usually it leads to dramatic outcomes and even more dramatic publicity, with some drastically losing the altitude they had reached and some literally crashing. Others amidst their crash, burning out of influential existence. Those who have been able to recover from their crash have done so by demonstrating an acceptable or heightened level of humility. Those presenting humility at a non convincing level have experienced comeback struggles. The point being that the integrity of your ingredients and the underlying presence of fear must be balanced and managed to achieve lift, to rise and stay up. Please take note that my belief is that everyone reading this book and reaching for greatness will fly so high that they achieve notable attention, hence, is subject to this guidance. That's how much I believe in you and how much I believe in what's in this book. And even listening to it in audio format, the same belief stands. Please believe the same of yourself. And if you do, pay close attention on avoiding tainted fuel. In other words, don't cross the boundary and leave humility behind. So, moving on, you need to establish certain routines or lifestyle techniques that best work for you and that will keep you mentally grounded every day. In selecting the right routines or lifestyle techniques, consider what I call the G to the power of two or G squared attitude, pronounced as G to the power of two or G squared attitude. It is all about carrying yourself with grace and gratitude. Two fundamental mindset foundations for center focused living. Grace is usually used in a religious context, but I find it an essential word to reference for managing our overall attitude and demeanor. Both grace and gratitude are relevant in our everyday personas. Grace is the presence you exude when amongst people or when out and about in the world. It's not a facade. It is a fundamental component that enables your light to shine. We all have the capacity to strive for such grace. And in doing so, not only will we eventually attain it, but we can also share it with others. If you find that people are repelling from you more than being attracted to you, consider adjusting to achieve a more graceful attitude and presence around others. What aspect of your lifestyle is prohibiting you from being truly graceful? The other side of G to the power of two is gratitude, which is stacked atop of grace. The relationship is one of an embrace. Gratitude demonstrates recognition of thankfulness. We see abundance no matter the reality of the amount. And the more gratitude is embraced, the more we will see and experience things to be thankful for each day, to notice our blessings and to look for blessings in every situation. Also, note that each G has a subset of living components, such as humility, that when applied will ensure that you correctly manage any negative aspects of your personality so that optimal flight altitudes can be reached. G squared is my personal mantra that I am sharing with you. I have found it to be powerfully enriching in my life, and I hope the same for you. Furthermore, some other things that can taint your fuel are selfishness, true selfishness, conceit, and egotism in their full negative forms. Each has their own impacts on flight altitude. The negative side of selfishness means you are constantly taken without delivering any degree of reciprocity back to those you're taken from. At some point, the behavior will be noticed and will breed resentment, and eventually the taps from others will be shut off. Negatively applied conceit is you having over the top views of your own worth, a tendency to be prideful, vain, and even narcissistic. Egotism, on the other hand, when also negatively displayed, is an inflated sense of self importance that is constantly verbalized and conceived. Operating in a mode of genuine gratitude and humility curbs the propensity for undesirable behavior, which includes all negative aspects of vanity. As you start to grow and rise in living a great life, consciously introduce ways to give back, to appreciate those around you, and share some of the positive energy, knowledge, and rewards you have reaped. With good fuel, your genie power is on fire, thrusting your carpet to new heights and headed in direction your actions dictate. So at this point, it's all about filling up and storing superior quality fuel. It's you validating that you have everything to support top quality fueling. It's you acknowledging and embracing the rocket fuel components that was called out in the chapter. It's you fine tuning for optimal flying conditions. And it's you committing, fully committing to fly high and maintain height. So at this point, you must use the best fuel to reach high altitudes. Choose to be guided by your superpower. This is your unique gift or gifts. So do the work needed to embrace and discover them. Once discovered, cement them through continuous use and an intimate self relationship. Choose to be guided by your action plan. And you recognize at this point, truly recognize, a plan of action is necessary. So you have developed one that makes sense for you and your current situation. And you always have it on hand to guide your flight trajectory. Choose to be guided by blind faith. At this point, you have considered the degree to which you are afraid and are taking action irrespective of that fear. We've covered it in a number of chapters. This one requires you to cement it. With each task accomplished, belief in yourself is growing as the possibilities you see for yourself become more tangible and more within reach. So choose to be guided by your passion because applying your natural gifts is intuitive, easy, and passion driven. It never feels like work, no matter how hard you work, which will be a lot. You need to. So give balance by practicing good love and self care. Choose to continuously emit energy as you fly. You are moving forward, certain of your natural gift, having measurable goals, carrying a G to the power of 2, G squared attitude, and with good rocket fuel. You have become aware of your rhythms and vibes around others. You are getting aware. You're getting in tuned. Choose to hold some energy back for yourself and share the rest. Your cup should be overflowing. When it comes to your energy usage, you put into practice the pay yourself first approach. When it comes to your energy usage, you must put into practice the pay yourself first approach. Fill your cup, overflow it, and take the overflow and share with others. You choose to reciprocate to others in some way, shape, or form. Recognize that others matter and have actively sought and implemented ways to extend yourself beyond you. That's what you are doing at this point. Choose to demonstrate gratitude because you are guided every day by appreciation to make the most out of what you have, irrespective of the amount. Focus on what you have and focus less on what you do not have, but continue the journey, thriving and striving for the end goal. Choose to carry yourself with grace, resonate in a positive and graceful demeanor, always that is being noticeably embraced by others. People pick up your vibrations, your rhythms, your light shining and emanating outward, your God within taking over. You are moving with empowered and with strength, but show humility in your actions. Become humble in your verbal and nonverbal interactions with others, and choose to appreciate those around you by showing and stating what people mean to you. And you are not taking anyone for granted. Manage aspects of your personality that can taint your fuel. Recognize some or all of your flaws. Acknowledge them and know that you are working on correcting, self-correcting, and are self-managing each one. Choose to be the greatest that you can be. Commit to pursuing your greatness based on your unique, innate abilities or gifts, superpowers, and you are now actively pursuing sustainable happiness. You're not no longer caught up in happy moments. You are aiming for contentment, continuous contentment that leads to perpetual happiness. Choose not to return to your old ways. All of us sometimes want to go back to what was comfortable, but try to create a new platform. Sit it, hold it, embrace it. Make it now your new comfort zone. Heighten your awareness to the point that you can recognize when old habits are returning, have returned, or are there already. You are no longer settling for just these happy moments or less even than your capabilities. And let me end with this. You are on fire and you are rising upwards. Your carpet is lifted and it is going up and soaring, and you are living abundantly while pursuing your vision. And that ends chapter 5. Thank you so much for listening. And if you need help with anything, you know where to reach me, jenndrakes.com. And also in the description of the podcast, you will find other ways to reach me. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Arrays of Living. And please be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You will also find in the description below my email address should you want to reach out, and I am happy if you do. And just to be sure, it's jen@youareworthmore.co, and worth more you definitely are. And lastly, also see the link that will allow you to schedule a meet and greet with me. And that's an opportunity for me to meet you and you to meet me and for us to have a chat. And that would be wonderful and welcoming. So please hit the link and let's set up a meet and greet.